All right, Riggs, man. Thanks so much for coming in on the show today. I know you got a lot going on. You're over in Orlando. You were doing a conference. You're a full time trader now. You're just telling me 11 years as an independent trader. That's unbelievable, man. I don't come across too many people that are an independent trader and profitable for that long. You know, I've only been in the space personally myself for about 4 years individually, but I used to work on the New York Stock Exchange. Got the whole experience on a prop firm level, or not a prop firm level, but like a company level. But to meet people that have been doing it for so long, even well before COVID happened, it's really cool to see. And I'm happy that we got to meet together because I know we trade all the time over the internet, but it's cool to like put a voice to the face. So thanks so much for coming on over to Tampa, man.
Nah, thank you, man. Happy to be here. I appreciate the invitation. I mean, so I was really looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, man. I know there's a lot to unpack between the futures trading, prop firms, what you've done, your success stories, maybe even some things that you've encountered on the bad side, because there's a lot of that in trading too. But I'd like to learn a little bit more about you, like just like open up the books for people listening, and even for myself. So you're from Rhode Island, or that's currently where you're at, or how did you get started?
So originally, I'm from the west coast of Africa.
Okay, wow.
10 islands that were colonized by Portugal and Dutch settlers. So my island where I'm from was like part of the triangle trade slave route back in the day when Portugal was like the main one doing it.
Yeah.
And I immigrated to America in 94.
Okay.
Single mother. And when I immigrated was to Rhode Island, east side of Rhode Island.
Mhm.
And from there, I mean, like as a young kid, I was like a bookworm.
Yeah.
Instead of going outside and playing, I was like home reading because I needed to learn English.
Okay.
So from elementary, junior high, English was my second language.
How old were you when you?
Oh, I was like seven,
Okay.
8 years old.
Okay, so you definitely knew it entirely. What kind of language?
My home country language.
Yeah,
It's called Creole, which is
Creole.
like it's African dialect and Portuguese dialect mixed.
Okay.
But our main language in my home country is Portuguese. So Portuguese is the first language,
that's cool.
and then we have like a slang dialect that we speak.
Kind of like a Spanish, almost in a way. Like Portuguese and Spanish are kind of relatable, right?
Yeah. So Portuguese, Spanish, Italian
Mhm.
are all Latin derived languages.
Okay.
So it was actually like really easy for me to like learn how to speak Spanish. So I speak like 4 languages fluently.
Damn. That's
Portuguese,
crazy.
Creole, English, Spanish, and a little bit of French and Italian. Like I can understand, but like I can't say too many words.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess like more than trilingual.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so like I've always been like a very like I guess smart person, or like really like
Yeah,
just
for sure.
book orientated. So came out here in 94 in Rhode Island.
Mhm.
Lived there for most of my life. Hard worker. I mean, I started working when I was like 14 years old. From that point on, got into some trouble.
Okay.
I fed into that whole street life, pushing certain narcotics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is actually going to be the first time I'm going to say this, but I was incarcerated.
Yeah.
I did 9 years in
Wow.
prison.
Damn.
So you're like
9 years.
you're
Holy
probably
shit,
like the
man.
fifth person that's like hearing this about me.
From like a young age.
Yeah, I had just turned 18, bro.
Damn.
I turned 18 in March. June, I was locked up.
Damn.
My senior year.
I can't imagine, man. I got into some trouble too back in college, but it was some things that I was battling back and forth, but I was only in there for a couple of days, like while I was trying to figure some stuff out. But 9 years, man, that's a whole different mindset.
Yeah.
That's kind of probably where all the discipline comes from with the trading aspect of things, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a pretty decent disciplined person as far as like with fitness. Like fitness, I was really into fitness before that happened. And then in there's like, you have to conform to certain rules, certain guidelines. You can't really, do anything crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the discipline, I'll say more, it comes more from like the fitness side.
Yeah.
I've never had like an issue just like, cutting something out, or just like, like, if this is what I got to do, this is what I got to do. You know what I mean? I'll make the sacrifice. I'll stop doing whatever I need to do to move forward, whether it's, fitness wise, or whether it's financially or business, in any aspect of life.
Yeah. Damn, man, that's inspiring to know what you're doing now with that backstory. I feel like that's powerful. That story
Yeah,
is very powerful, and I feel like that would resonate with a lot of people too. Because like whether it's they were also incarcerated, or maybe they just don't have the right cards, in
yeah,
play, and they just don't have that perspective. Like, how can I get out? How can I get access to capital? Maybe I don't want to be a part of the regular norm of maybe wherever they're in, whether it's like the projects or they're just from a poor family. It's like that kind of story could be really inspiring to somebody that you've no idea like how powerful that kind of background could be for somebody. So
yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that, man.
No, thank you. I've been actually waiting for like the right opportunity to like be able to, share that about myself because when it comes to this industry, it's like, at the end of the day, it's about the bottom line. Like, can you make money or not? You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then your character ends up speaking volume. How you carry yourself also ends up speaking volume. I didn't reach the success without going through trials and
of course.
tribulations, downfalls, losses,
Hmm.
from trading. I mean, when I got into trading was in 2013.
Hmm.
I came home 2011.
Okay, so about
Uh,
2 years
so
afterwards.
yeah, so I got into trading because I was working physical labor job, delivering furniture,
Okay.
and I'm pretty much of like a little speed demon.
Hmm.
Like so, motorcycles, fast cars. Was in a motorcycle accident that I almost took my life.
Damn.
Um, in a hospital for like about 12 hours surgery. And
Jeez, man, you've
after
been
that,
through it.
like, bro.
Hell.
So after that, like at the time that happened, I didn't have health insurance.
Oh shit.
So the hospital bill was like tremendous. And I knew like if I stayed there for days, like it was gonna cost me even more. So literally fresh out of surgery on my knee, they were like, if I could walk 5 steps, I could go home. So I'm like, yo, I'm walking 5 steps.
Yeah.
So knee all, bandaged, well, actually like sewed up because like my bone was exposed.
Yeah.
They did injections to make sure that my kneecap wasn't like fractured or anything like that. They sewed me up.
Mm.
I took that 5 steps. They're like, okay, you can go. So I went home.
Damn. Still
12 hour.
probably pretty
Yeah, like
insane.
bro. Um, was it like within 12 hours of being in the hospital, like it was like a 15 grand bill. And I'm just like, shit, how am I gonna pay this?
Yeah.
So from that point, I'm just like, yo, like I need to figure something out. So I recovered like 6 months in recovery, not being able to sleep on a bed, like literally sleeping on a recliner chair.
Just so much pain, like
Yeah, like
uncomfortable.
very uncomfortable pain, bro. Like I couldn't even wash myself like for about maybe like 2 months. My mother was like helping me wash myself.
Yeah.
Which she's had been like really supportive throughout the whole ordeal.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting back and I'm just like, yo, like, what can I do that's not going to be physical? Because broken clavicle, messed up leg, I can't lift stuff,
Yeah.
anymore. And then I got into like personal training.
Okay.
I was very fit, which I think that had like something to do why I was able to survive that accident because I didn't have no helmet,
Hmm.
no
Damn.
protective gear. I was literally wife beater, shorts, sneakers.
So you're lucky.
Very lucky. So while promoting my fitness company, a guy on Instagram hits me up. He's asking me like mad fitness questions. And I in turn start asking him questions. And he's like, oh, I'm a day trader. I teach people how to trade and so forth. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm like, where do you live? Like what, because I'm thinking like, yo, online stuff is a scam.
Always, it feels like.
So then he tells me he's in Miami. I'm like, listen, if, I'll fly out, like I'll take you out to lunch. Like if this is really legit. Turns at me, he's like, yo, like, you're not even one of my students. You're not even a subscriber to my newsletter. He's like, my time is for my students only. So he has this whole millionaire challenge student challenge that he does. I applied for it several times. Didn't get accepted. I'm
Really?
like, damn, yeah, bro. Like, so I'm like, you know what? Like, I started getting books, reading like, what are shares, what are bonds, like, what's what. From that point, I got to a position where I knew or like I felt like I could do stuff without my hands being held. But I did end up paying like I paid like 18 months for his subscription, just watching, tuning into his chat room, watching his watch list, seeing that he would only like take trades in just like 4 or 5 cents. But 4 or 5 cents was like 3 grand, 5 grand. And I'm pretty good with numbers. And I'm just like, yo, like this stock is $3. You're taking 4 cents. You're making 3 grand. You're doing like over 10,000 shares.
Yeah.
I'm like
It's a lot of money.
10,000 shares times $3. I'm like, that's quite a bit of money. And I'm like, I don't have that. So when I finally felt that like I had a good enough understanding of things, I had been working, I had some money saved up. I took 10 grand, I put it into a Scottrade account, right? Scottrade ended up getting bought out by TD Ameritrade,
Yep.
but Scottrade was my first broker that I used.
Mhm.
Started trading. I placed my first trade. My first trade was HMNY. I made $34. I was like, shit. But I'm under PDT.
Yeah.
So, right, because I don't have the 25K. A few days later, I take another trade, $950. I was like, oh, shit.
Damn.
Month and a half goes by. I'm doing, every time I traded, I'm doing between $9 and like $1,500. Within a month and a half, I got over PDT. I got like to like almost
Made
29, 30K.
So you made over 20, almost 20 grand in what?
In a month and a half.
Damn. So it was instant success for you.
Yeah. So for me, like I had the luxury of, success very early on. But I tell people like a major contribution to that was the fact that the market was coming off of the '08 crash. So, 2013, bro, like any little news, stocks were running 30, 40, 50%.
So just to talk about that a little bit, were you doing options at that point, or is it penny stocks, or?
I was doing penny stocks, pharmaceuticals, and I didn't get into options until like 2015.
Okay. So wow, you're making significant returns off common stock, basically, and penny stocks, obviously. So just shares.
Just shares.
Wow,
2,
10
3.
grand, you flipped it that quick.
Yeah, bro. I mean, because I'm doing like 1,000, 2,000 shares, and I'm catching 1.5, 2 points.
Yeah.
A couple of times, 15 minutes into the market, quick $900, lock it in, go to work.
Yeah.
Then it got to a point where work was actually costing me money.
Yeah.
And I had, at this point, I had a nice little cushion for expenses for a few months. I'm just like, you know what?
Just going to give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give my 2 weeks notice. Gave my 2 weeks notice. Went back to my home country as an adult because ever since I came back in '94, I never went back.
Yeah.
So I went back as an adult. And while there, I made $4 grand on the beach, chilling on my phone. Right, because Scottrade had a phone app and stuff like that.
That's the dream trading position right there.
Yeah, yeah. So I posted it. The gentleman that I was looking to trade from goes by Tim Sykes.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know Tim Sykes.
He reached out to me and asked me like, yo, I want you to be my next Millionaire Challenge student. I'm like, oh shit, great. Like this is what I was applying for several times and I never got accepted.
Yeah.
So I'm like, great. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And then I didn't know it was going to cost me because I'm like, if you're reaching out to me, asking me to be your student, like I didn't think it was going to cost me, but I'm like, $5 grand to learn from a self-made millionaire. Absolutely. Like without a doubt. So I paid the fee, started. Next thing I know, he's like, yo, like come to Vegas. You're part of my presentation. Went to Vegas. While in Vegas, I actually went against him on a trade. It was a VISN. It was a Chinese communication company. He was looking to short it. I was looking along because like while on the flight there, I'm looking at it. It's like it closed very bullish. And the last, like when you go back into the charts history, I seen every time it closed bullish, it ran for a few days. So I'm like, yo, come Monday, I'm longing this.
Yeah.
Met some of the traders. We're talking. We're vibing. And one other person was a guy named Dan from Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking. I'm explaining to him like, my thesis, what I saw. And he's like, yo, you know what? I like that. I'm going to go along with you. Monday rolls around. It's early morning there because, the whole time difference.
Yeah.
Tim goes short. I went long. Within about 30 minutes, I made over $6 grand.
Damn.
The guy that followed me made almost 10 grand that morning. Tim ended up getting out at break even because he was able to average up in a little pullback, like he was able to get out. So then he's like, oh, like who went long, da 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 da. And I'm like, I went long. And then the other guy was like, he went long. He asked the guy, yo, why did you go long? He's like, oh, I spoke to Riggz and I like his analysis. It fits, what he was seeing. And then he asked me why did I go long. I was like, well, I looked in the charts history and every time this thing closed bullish, it ran for several days.
Yeah.
It hasn't shown us weakness. So that's why I went long. Took my money, rent a Ferrari, took it out. So that was my first time like driving an exotic car. Didn't own it, but I'm like, yo, like I'm treating myself like I
Of
just made
course.
$6,000 going against, a guru.
Yeah.
Like this person does this for a living. And after that, like it was just a snowball effect from that to chilling on a mega yacht in the British Virgin Islands, being on a TV show.
Damn. All this within how many years? 2?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So that was like 20. That was 20. The seminar was in October of 2013. The TV show and chilling on the mega yacht was in 2014 when I had relocated to Apollo Beach. So while there, me and like 6 other traders were like, "Yo, you're learning from this dude. You're learning from this dude. We don't have kids. We don't have a relationship. Like, let's come together and help each other grow."
Yeah.
All for it. Started off with 6. When it came down to it was only 3, myself and 2 others. And one of the persons that we roommate in Apollo Beach, like we're still like really cool. He comes from like generation type money, Southern families and stuff like that. And we got into the house together. We were trading. We were helping each other. We were, going out, working out. It was just like, like a bro squad.
Yeah.
So from that, like, so that was like within like a span of like, I'll say like, I studied for 18 months and then I started trading in 2013. So yeah, so within like a 3-year time span, like it was just crazy, mind blown. Like being able to like fly first class from like not really flying ever because I was like scared of heights.
Yeah.
So
I'm scared of turbulence. I'm scared of the whole damn thing,
bro.
Man.
So I was like, pretty amazed just to seeing like that transformation, and it was just like wow, like to go from where I was, like being in a 6x9 cell, almost dying. Then being stressed and depressed, figuring like, yo, how am I gonna pay my bills?
Yeah.
To finding something and then really pursuing it, and again, the time in which I started like played a major role in my success. Not like right now. Like right now, like we have a lot of volatility, a lot of back and forth and stuff like that. But yeah, so from that, I end up going on that show called Below Deck. With Tim and like 5 other like of his top students. It was a great time. Everything was paid for, bro. $3,000 night villas and stuff like that. Private beach. I'm just like, yo,
you're living the life.
This is the life.
From incarceration to the private yachts. That's crazy.
So
all within 3 years.
Yeah, so it was just a major turnaround. And then after that, my first major like down experience in the market. At that point, I'm on cloud 9. I believe in the market. I trust everything, right? So there was a company called WPCS, first company listed on the New York Stock Exchange that was purchasing a crypto exchange.
Okay.
So I've been into crypto since 2014.
Oh shit. Okay.
So I'm like, yo, like digital currency. I'm really big into history too. So I've always like looked into like the past history. I'm really big into like Greek mythology and stuff like that. And I just seen like the progression of human society, our history. We went from bartering services to exchanging of commodities to then rare metals to then rare jewelries and stuff like that. And then, seeing that China was the first country to create an actual physical currency, the circle with the square punched through it.
Yep.
And they were also the first ones to do like the paper recording of your money and wealth. So I'm like, damn, digital. I'm like, I don't carry cash no more. Everything is a card, swipe, swipe, swipe. So I'm like, yo, this is gonna be big.
It's crazy you were thinking that back in 2014. So
I bought into so I'm like, yo, this company's gonna do huge. So I bought it at like $3.60. My analysis was it was gonna go to 5.30, 7 and change, and then like over $12. Yeah. The same day I bought it, after hours, which is from 4:02 to 8 p.m. 5 p.m. the stock was over $5.40. Damn. So I was supposed to take profits. Yeah. But I'm like, nah, like this is going to continue. So I hold. Come morning time, it's back down to my entry. But I believed in it so much, I doubled down instead of exiting.
Ah, shit.
Then it drops $2.50, $2.10, $2. I'm like, damn. We got a conference call soon. I was like, the CEO says anything positive, this thing's flying. I double down again.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So what was a $2,000 profit ended up turning into a $6,000 loss.
Damn.
And that was like my first major loss like ever. So rocked my confidence. I would still analyze charts, but I was too scared to like hit that trigger.
Yeah.
My two roommates, they're making money off my analysis. I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I would go long here because of this, that, and the third. They take it, they make money. I'm sitting there just scratching my head.
Yeah.
It wasn't until one of them told me, like, instead of going in 3,000 shares, do 500. Like,
Yeah.
just get, like, stop building that
Scale.
confidence back.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I did that for about a month and a half, gained my confidence, and then I went from there. And then from there, I went to options. I traded options, like the returns, but I hate the restrictions.
There's so many things that go against you in options. It's crazy. I want to tap into that, but I know we hit on the PDT rule. For people that don't know what the PDT rule is, you started with 10K and you can only day trade 3 times per week. I believe it is, right?
Yeah, 3 times. Yeah, 3 times per week for every 5 business rolling period.
Yeah, and until you reach that 25K. So once you reach that 25K, there's no longer a PDT restriction. But under that,
you can go in and as much as you want. Yeah,
you can go in and out as long as you're above 25K, and then you're considered a professional trader.
Kind of like basically it's like with PDT is like the SEC says like they did that to like protect you from your greed.
Yeah.
But essentially it's like if your account is below 25K at any point, you can only go in and out of the market 3 times for every 5 business rolling period. So today's Friday. If you use, let's say, 2 day trades today, you're not going to get those 2 until the next Friday. Yeah. So that means from Monday to next Friday, like there's a lot of action that'll happen.
Absolutely.
You're only going to have 1 day trade left. I mean, so you have to be very selective in what you take, or if you enter something and you're up $500, like, damn, do I take it? Because if I take it, I'm not going to have any trades until Friday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It could, I mean, that could also save you a little bit, you know, like some people that overtrading can kill your account, you know?
Yes.
I mean, there's opportunities that are going to pass you by every single day, right? Yes. There's like, as we were driving today, we caught, you know, we saw that the market, we could have made, you know, probably $5,000, $6,000 off that drop, but you know, like that stuff's going to happen every day. So like that used to bother me. It's like a open casino every single day, but it's like kind of like the shiny object syndrome in the market. And I feel like a lot of people see people make a lot of money, change their lives, do a bunch of stuff like that. But then there's also a huge psychological aspect to trading that not a lot of people can withstand, because you come in there, you lose a couple $100, you lose $1,000. You're like, oh shit, this is not for me. I feel like there's such a high fail rate because people didn't do what you did. People didn't have the experience that I did when we first started. Because I started working in a college fund back in 2017, before I even started my own trading in 2021. So I was doing stuff for 4 years before I even did my own personal trade in my account on the option side. Always buying stocks and stuff, but that's like different thing. But a lot of people just get in there because they see a social media thing nowadays and somebody's crushing it. They walk in, they try to tail somebody, they lose money, but they didn't sit there and study for 18 months like you did before you placed a trade, right? That was your story, right?
Yeah. 18 months. I studied for 18 months before I placed a trade. I saw people in the chat making money, but very early on, I understand, like, once I analyze something, like, I can understand that you're making money because you have a more experience than me. You have a bigger account. And even if you give me a signal, there are certain advanced techniques that you can utilize to save yourself from a massive loss that I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so when people come into this industry, they're coming in, you know, high off of seeing somebody else making something. But it's like, people look at my success, they don't know like the months that I question myself, could I really do this?
Of course.
They don't see the major losses that I've had. The sleepless nights because what was supposed to be a day trade ended up becoming a swing trade because I didn't respect my stop loss. Yeah. Right. So they don't see none of that. And
that is mentally taxing. Like that is like, it is the hardest game and hardest job in the world. And it's because there's no coworkers, there's no competitors. It's you versus you. Like it's your entire psychological mindset. It's how you carry yourself, and greed and fear can take over really quickly. So as long as you have like control of your emotions, it's a great place to be in, but it can easily be a trap, especially if you have like a gambling addiction or anything like that. Cause you know, people want to be rich and they're kind of miscued by social media because people will just, you know, take a short clip and put a highlight reel that they bought this McLaren because they trade stocks. Well, I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into them.
Yeah.
You have like maybe they are very successful, but you can't just believe stuff and you think you're just going to do that. Cause you know, for the longest time, people will be in, like I have that channel, the Discord channel where people are trading in there too. Right. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, I knew that I noticed this kid, I won't say names, but We were trading forever. And I know he was like just going and throwing stuff around in there, but he came in there without like reading any of the educational channel pieces that kind of coach you from like, okay, what is a stock to like, reading all the advanced stuff on the option side of stuff. And I noticed he was trading for a year. And then I said something about a stop loss. And he went to the questions tab and said, what's a stop loss? I'm like, dude, have you been trading for a year and you don't have any sort of risk management? So like, I feel like a lot of people that get into trading, they just see the charts. And I know we'll pull up the charts and they're like, holy, what is this? Even the guys outside were like, what the hell am I looking at? Because it looks like a big thing of spaghetti. It's like, how do you read this? It looks a lot more complicated than it really is.
Yes.
But you just need a good mentor. Somebody that can really help you and make that learning curve a lot more seamless, because it is a lot. But if you can speak with somebody, like you said, you paid that $5,000, which to somebody sounds like a lot, but the return on that investment, is tremendous. If you have the right person. There's so many fake people out there, which has saturated our space. It's like, listen, we can actually sit you down, talk to you from point A to point B to get you to where you want to be. We're not going to sit here and tell you you're going to make $1 million, but at the same time, we can tell you how you can manage your risk and still make yourself a profitable trader with the right tools in place. So it's such like an interesting space that people are scared of, because I feel like 2020, everybody was a guru, and like even now crypto is booming. Everybody's a crypto guru.
I know, right?
But I don't know. I just kind of went on a little bit of a tangent there, but it's such like it's an easy barrier to entry, but the longevity of it, I feel like, is misconstrued by it's not an instant success.
No, it's not. I mean, those that pretend that, they started tomorrow and they're making, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's like, no, if they are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, they got to be working with at least a 5 or 10 million or a $20 million account, which anyone that's coming in, it's like, it's different, right?
Or they got lucky too,
And even like, working class, like if you look at the majority of working class, bro, like a year ago, it was like $1,000 emergency away from being dead broke.
Yeah.
Now it's $500. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
So there's a lot of other things that needs to be understood aside from just looking at a chart and a strategy. It's like, okay, yeah, you can give somebody a strategy, but then what's the risk management? What's the parameters for the risk management? Now, you may have a specific risk parameter. I may want to risk less, right? Then it's like position sizing. People don't understand, like, based on your account size, there's a specific limit of a position that you can take. You can't just go full on your whole account into a position and then not even have a stop loss or even understand what a stop loss, or even having an inclination of like, okay, if I get here, what's the worst case scenario? If this is the worst case scenario and I enter at this position, this size, can I withstand? Can I accept and be okay with taking that loss?
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't even think of that. Everything's like, oh, I'm going to go in. It's going to the moon.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, it doesn't work that way. You know what I
mean? But social media made that happen because the meme coins, or like, what was it? AMC, GameStop, like all that stuff that was happening in 2020. That's what made trading popular. Yeah. And it's like, now that the mass public knows about it, they got like the wrong taste in their mouth, I think, like, I feel like they came in, they saw GameStop go into whatever. They're like, oh shit, these guys are becoming millionaires. Let me buy it. And they're buying GameStop at $400, not realizing that the market cap is billions of dollars at that point. Right. It's like how you're buying the top, like you're buying like into the euphoric phase. And like, people are obviously going to dump that on you. Like, they just don't understand like the best time to get in. Like right now, for example, I see it right now, Tesla. I've been buying, buying and buying and buying just common stock. But at some point, I'm about to just buy some leap options and I'm going to make hundreds of % on my return, But it's just like, patience will pay you more than those crazy phases were. If you're patient in this game, the amount of money you can flip your money into, it's ridiculous.
100%. I mean, when it comes to the meme, like, oh man, I had so many people that would hit me up about AMC, and I was just like, listen, this thing is run from the dollar area. I was just like, your best bet is just like, if you've made money, take that. Don't even touch it again until you understand chart. Because a lot of them, they didn't even look at it. They don't even know what charting was, candlestick charting or anything. I know several people personally that they made some money in it. They gave that money back. They put more money in. They gave that money back. And now they're back living with their family.
Yeah.
Right. So insane. It was a major reversal. So it's just like, you can't always go off of what you see on social media or the media, because you're getting in like at the hype. It's just like when, before the crypto crash, when crypto Bitcoin went over 62K, There was people buying it at 62K. It comes down below 19K. Nobody wants to buy. I'm like, you liked it at 62. Why don't you like it at 19?
Yeah, obviously. And
You know what
now
I mean?
they're probably kicking themselves.
Yeah,
Right?
they're
That would
kicking.
average them out drastically.
Yeah,
From 20 to 62, you're sitting at a $40,000 average there.
yeah, right. So it's just like if you liked it back then, it's like, well, you like it down here, but they don't even have that simple concept as well. So there's a lot of different concepts and education that comes in. And it's sad that like, they're falling for all these different gurus and people that like they're just giving you a strategy.
Yeah.
There's like no solid education. Like I learned pre-market trading on my own.
Yeah.
I was in Columbus, Ohio. It's 6 a.m.
Yeah, you're a beast at pre-market trading. It's
Bro,
crazy.
right?
I like log on. I'm like riping like my eyes. I'm like just waking up. Be like, I'm up $3,500. I'm like, what the hell, bro?
Yeah, catching those early morning moves.
Yeah.
So I get an alert on my phone. This dude just bought a stock. I'm like, yo, the market doesn't open till 9:30. How the hell is he buying a stock at 6 a.m?
Yeah.
I go, I research. Oh, there's pre-market trading. Most people don't even know what that is either. Pre-market, post-market. So there's so many different things that I feel if you really want longevity in here, you have to learn. Like you have to understand that.
And you have to learn with somebody with knowledge. Like you can't just learn from social media. You can't look at the highlight reel and be like, that's going to be my life. Right.
Yeah.
There's so many different things. Like people sell you a dream on social, but like if you can really meet somebody who's authentic and actually cares about like getting you to the right point, because we've talked about it before and there's no one way to be successful in trading. You have
Correct.
a different strategy. I have a different strategy.
Yes.
And it really kind of depends on the kind of person you are, right? It's really about your psychological things or like what you're seeing in the market. Everybody has their own strategy that they have. But again, going back to if you can package up like a presentation of tools to give that education to somebody and condense it. I was once asked the question, would you spend, like $500 a month or $100 a month to learn something for 5 to 10 years, right? So a cheaper amount over that time span, or would you pay somebody 10 grand to learn it in 1 hour call?
The 10 grand.
Yeah.
Time is something that we can get. We can make all the money we want, but time, it's something that we can buy. So why I say that is because saving the time in which you're gonna, bypass certain falls, certain mistakes and whatnot, it's much more worth it. I mean, which is why I paid that $5,000 to learn. Mind you, I was already profitable.
Yeah.
I'm over PDT. I have a nice cushion, right?
Mhm.
So
most people would look at that and be like, why the hell would I ever pay? Because that's a lot of money, right?
the man's living the life that I want to live.
Exactly.
I want to be traveling, which, because of me doing that, I'm able to live a life that most people dream of.
Yeah.
Right. And not saying that it's not unattainable. It is, but it's just like you have to be like really, really dedicated. Like
Yep.
you have to know like, yo, this is what you want. And if this is what you want, then you're going to have to go and get it. You're going to have losses. Like there's people that they'll have gurus where they'll tell them, oh, I win, 100% of them. Like, oh, you're not going to lose money. That's a lie. You're going to lose money.
Yeah. I'm going with the 10 grand too. And I'll tell you why. And there's something I've learned in scaling businesses and trading and everything that I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years now. But that 10 grand, people look at that and be like, why the hell would I ever pay $10,000 for 1 hour? Like I'm paying some guy, he's making $10,000 an hour. It's like, no, you're paying $10,000 for all of the time and knowledge that he's invested in probably for the last 10 to 15 to 20 years. So you're literally packing in 10, 15 to 20 years of knowledge into one presentation that will literally make that learning curve so seamless for you, or at least make it introductory to you in a much better way than you would to go to a university for 4 years. It's probably not even going to teach you trading, stocks, options, how they work, risk management, all that stuff, right? So you're either going to put yourself in $100K in debt for 4 years in college, which I think boiled down to like $100 a day. I think I misspoke on that comparison. It's like $100 a day or whatever. For that 4 years of college, or would you pay one guy 10 grand for an hour that is successful in the space? I feel like it's so people think differently. And I think that's what separates the people that have the entrepreneurial mindset to get to a different level than most people, because they see that $10,000 and it's like, oh shit, I don't have it. Well, if you can figure out how to get that, you can put your back against the wall, figure out how to get that 10 grand. That 10 grand for that hour is going to change your entire life.
Absolutely. I mean, and plus like the the one-on-one that you're gonna get from that, because essentially you're getting that one-on-one from that person,
Oh yeah.
and everybody learns differently,
Mhm.
right? Like in the years that I've seen people taught, I've seen people learning, I've mentored some people, and everyone learns different at different paces. Like I had one person where it took him 3 weeks to understand short selling,
Yeah.
and another person it took them a couple of days,
Yep.
right? So being able to pay that fee, and again, I mean, it's less money that you're gonna get that you're gonna pay going to a college and stuff like that. Now, I'm all for education, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like in a college in a room setting. And again, most people they're better at learning one on one type of scenarios. So it's like you can get 60,000 in debt and go to a college where they don't teach you much, and what you get a degree in you don't end up using. And bringing the whole college topic, like I was going to college for business management. Then I had an epiphany where I'm just like, yo, if I get this degree, I can always fall back on.
Yep.
I dropped out. Once I learned accounting, I'm like, yo, because I live in a state where it's very corrupt. And like, I heard a lot of like people, business owners getting scammed by accountants, because
Damn.
they're not able to balance their books and so forth and whatever. So once I learned accounting, I'm just like, yo, I'm good.
Yep.
And what's crazy is like, you have professors teaching you business, but they don't own a business,
Crazy
right?
concept, right?
And literally everything that I do and use to make money, from banking or offshores, from taxations, business formations, are all stuff that I learned outside of a classroom,
Yeah.
right? I've even had a gentleman that I was teaching about the market, and on paper, he's smart than me. He has all these financial degrees and so forth, deals with taxations and acquisitions of hotels and hospitals, like through tax liens or whatever. Didn't know jack squat about the market, like how to position himself and so forth. And I ended up like, basically filling in that blank for him.
Yeah.
And then I sit back and I'm just like, this man is like college graduate, used to be a millionaire, certain economic situations brought him back down to just a regular person. And here I am educating him. And he in turn, taught me some stuff about taxes. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I learned from about taxes from outside of the classroom.
Oh, sure.
So for a good period of time, like I tell people, instead of trading as an individual account under your name, create a business. Put the account under the business, so that way you can get write-offs, because
Yeah.
people don't know, if you put 10 grand in an account, you lose, let's say you lose 6 grand.
Mhm.
The following year, you make that 6 grand back. You're paying taxes
Mhm.
on what on $3,000, because as an individual, you can only deduct $3,000.
Yeah.
But if you were a business, you could deduct the whole 6,000 once you make it back.
100%.
I mean, so there's a lot of stuff that like I learned, and again, it's just by paying. Like when I calculate what I've invested into the market, education wise, over 25 grand.
Oh yeah.
Paying the market to learn certain things.
Let's not talk
Over,
about that part.
let's just say it's north of 6 figures.
Oh yeah. I've had some times where I've been down 6 figures in a given trade at some point, and it's not a good feeling, man. That's like some things that you just can't take it home. I mean, you really mold as a person. It grows you up real quick, so there's a lot of losses to this game, but as long as you know how to play the game, longevity, you'll come out on top every single time.
So,
but you bring up a good point, and this is a controversial topic, but I don't know where I stand on it. But there's an old saying that says, "Those who can do, those who can't teach," and it's a controversial topic, right? And that's like mostly talking about like people that are just teachers, the educational level, but there's a different side of that. It's like those that do want to give back and teach people how to get to where they got. And I think that that's where the misconception is of that saying, is because you can, people that teach you, you're just finding the wrong teacher. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like in higher education, I just think it's all wrong. Like obviously if there's like doctor, lawyer, you need to go to school, but in terms of business, like a teacher that doesn't own a business teaching you business operations, maybe they know their stuff. Maybe they've had a good mentor in the past, but I think that personally, I think that's just the wrong path to go down to get that kind of education, because they don't have the experience in where you want to get to that certain level, whether it's C-suite, own your own company. I think that the perspective is just different.
Yeah. Me personally, like I disagree with it. It definitely comes down to like who's teaching you, and the reason I disagree with that is because I understand that like some people they can't really articulate themselves. Some might think that they have to go teach a certain structure like how they do in regular schools and stuff like that, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
And when you look at the society we live in, I mean, experience beats people that are learning something in a class because you're just following a textbook, and a textbook gives you certain parameters, but that life experience, like you can't beat it.
Yeah.
Like there's people that they will hire someone that has 2 years experience in actually doing a specific task versus someone that's fresh out of college.
True.
But then the people that go to college to get these degrees, they're basically having a setback because most companies require you to have some kind of experience. So it's like it's a conundrum,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, so yeah, it really comes down to like the person. But you can if you can articulate yourself and you can like really explain something well
Yep.
and teach, why not? I mean, like
Of
I've
course.
I've had people that taught me about taxes, and that's because like they were doing that themselves.
Exactly.
It wasn't something that I read in a book. It was
Yeah.
something that someone was actually doing that they showed me and explained it to me. I'm like, all right, great. So it doesn't mean that
Yeah.
just because he's teaching me this, like he doesn't know what he's doing
Exactly.
or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
I don't
that,
agree with the conversation. I think that the way that I think about it is flip it 180. It's not who's teaching you doesn't know, it's who you're being taught by. I think it
yes,
really comes down to the person that's learning rather than who's teaching it. It's like
yes.
you're selective enough to find out, either go learn from somebody that's never had a business or learn from that multimillionaire, you know? So
I'm gonna,
exactly.
I'm gonna go with the one that
Hell
has
yeah.
the multimillionaire. So
Killers.
so when it comes to that, it's like you definitely want to learn from someone that's obviously. I mean, and there's things you can do like people don't do their own due diligence, right? It's like,
Yep.
oh yeah, this person just popped up. Okay, well, how long have they been trading?
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, there was a point that like I even showed my tax statements. Like, okay, I made 350 grand this year. There's somebody that comes on like, oh, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm a guru, I'm this, whatever. But then it's like you
Show
can't
your
you
statements.
can't you can't show no bank statements.
Yeah.
You can't show no deposits. You
Yep.
can't show no saying anything. So it's just like
Show at least show like how much is in your account, like so then you can show like even if it's they could still fake that, they could be trust fund baby, but at least you're dealing with the good size money, you know what I mean? You have
yeah,
to still know what you're doing to manage that kind of money. So a lot of people just like post a screenshot of their whatever, like
yeah,
even in my crypto accounts, like I'm always posting like that 50, 60K. But something that I didn't hit on is I was buying Ethereum at like 3,300 like 3 years ago, and I'm like, shit, it's going down. And then when it got to 900, everyone's panic selling like this is going to zero, whatever. I'm still buying. I'm buying at 900, I'm buying at 1,400, I'm buying on the way up to average myself down.
yeah,
Kind of over positioned myself in that thing for a long time, but I just got paid over six figures just from
yeah,
holding that position for so long. But like those 2 years of, down, 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 I'm still buying as it's idling out because now I'm reaping the benefits by being patient. So that kind of goes back to like having that education, having the understanding of the market. It's
yeah,
like, don't buy into the frenzy of the GameStop, the AMC's. Like you're going to want to start buying things on the downside.
yes,
But
yes.
that was something that I'm super transparent about, is like always showing my account values, what I'm doing. I was buying. I started creating a lot of content back in the day on the TQQQ when we dropped like 30% in 2021,
Okay.
and it was down to like $16 and it came from 90. And I'm sitting there buying and buying and buying and talking about it. And every one of my comments, like, you have no idea what you're doing, another fake guru, all this shit. I'm like, guys, like when the QQQ turns around, this is going to 3x their money. All the big hedge funds and everything, they're saying, all your financial advisors say, don't invest in a triple leverage thing because it could go to zero. It's super risky. I'm like, super risky in a bull market, but in a bear market that's down 30%, you know,
Oh yeah.
how do you think these
something.
institutions are making their money 3 times faster? They're
Mhm.
using these triple leverages to get back there. Once it's back to all time highs, now it's sitting at $60. People, I post about it now. Everybody's like, oh, like where are the haters now? You know what I mean? So it's just like there's just different things you have to grasp concepts. And I could have been wrong, but like that's when it comes down to a main principle that I do when I trade is your risk management, your R multiple, your risk to reward, right? Like instead of stop loss here, if it got down to 12, maybe I lose, 50% or 40%, 30% of the trade, but my upside's like 300%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you start to leverage it out like that, you can kind of like scale your money and set your expectations yourself. So,
Yeah, that's when I started like what's causing me like to start looking at things on a percentage wise
yeah.
versus a monetary side
Yep.
because we all have different account sizes. So if I tell somebody, oh, I made 100 grand today, But it's like they're like, oh, I'm gonna make 100 grand off of a 200K account. It's like, no, I made that off a $6 million account.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So it's just like you have to understand the size, and once you understand, like, like looking at the chart, you can find certain levels. But yeah, like again, people will want to buy something like when it's being hyped up. It's like,
Yeah.
buy it when it's unattractive.
Yeah.
Buy it when it's like, oh, it's selling. And again, if they understood, like, market cycles,
Yep.
then, and seeing that, the market is designed to go up. So if the market is down 30 something percent, it's like for you to really, for that particular instrument to go down to zero, like society would have to end.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. It's like not believing in America at that point. you know?
Yeah. So if you believe in America, like you're working, you're still working,
Yeah.
you're still getting a paycheck, you're still paying taxes, there's
still
still
an
innovation going on. I was like,
Yeah.
this thing's gonna go back up.
For
You
sure.
just have to be patient.
Exactly.
I mean,
And
that's
sometimes it happens fast too. So you got to kind of act quick before it comes back,
yeah.
Got to buy when people are fearful.
Yes, the Warren Buffett way.
Yeah, of course. It's just so generic in the investor world. But man, we've talked a lot about the finance stuff, but I want to have some fun with this. I
Okay.
really want to like give the juice, the free value, and something that you and I have been working on or thinking about doing for a while is definitely opening the eyes for the public on what's out there now. Because the biggest thing for trading, everybody talks about finances and money is the biggest hardship to get involved. Like, oh, I don't want to lose money. Oh, I don't want to do this. But now there's tools out there that can give you up to 150K.
Yes,
with
or
very-
6 mil.
or 6 mil or 25K, 50K. And a lot of people don't realize this, but there's no risk to you really. You could
No.
spend $70 to get access to 100 grand.
Yeah.
And I'll just pause there for a second because it's like mind blowing. You're like, what's the scam? What's the catch? And I thought that at first too, a couple months back before I started using it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a game changer. So for
Yeah.
any one of those kids, let's tie it back to, you're the way you got started, being incarcerated for 9 years, or me growing up. I didn't really talk about this on this podcast, but in a small town, single mom, 5 kids, dirt poor. Like I never had the resources or like the mentors in my hometown to like show me something like this. It is possible to get out of it because one, it takes money in the market.
Yes.
Now it doesn't, right?
No.
Now it takes
Just
education.
a little bit. Just
a little
bit.
bit,
A little
but
bit in education. So yeah. So here's the thing. So like prop firms, they had a certain structure back in like 2013, 2014, where you actually had to like undergo like a severe test and task to like prove yourself before they could actually give you fund. And there was a form of a license that you actually had to acquire back in like 2014.
Oh wow.
In the last 4 years or so, it's become more mainstream, and the structure of the prop firm space has shifted. Where originally it's like you had a lot of foreign currency prop firms that would give you access to actually trade blue chip companies as well as the indices, which are NASDAQ, Dow Jones, ES, Russell, commodities such as gold, oil, natural gas, silver, right? So these prop firms, you pay a small fee ranging anywhere from $50 to 12,000, well, 1,200.
Yeah.
7,000 if you wanted to get like $1 million account on the Forex space.
So crazy.
So you pay the fee, you undergo the evaluation. So assuming that you're able to trade where you have a strategy, you have a risk parameter, you have a good risk to reward parameters, you pay the fee, you undergo the evaluation, you pass the evaluation. Once you pass the evaluation, the firm then sends you a contract. You sign the contract, you fill it out, then they give you access to capital to trade. Now, the capital is still the firm's, the account is still the firm's. You're just getting access to it to trade, and you get to keep about 80 to 90% of what you make,
which is unbelievable.
Yes, right.
Sorry, continue.
Because back in the day, it's like if you wanted to trade, like it had to be your own money.
Yeah.
Now you can start trading with as low as $100, $50. So essentially, you can get a 200 or 150K account for less than $200, right? Which is unbelievable. You just have to, again, learn and understand the instruments that you want to trade, or at least what the firm allows you to trade, right? Because on the Forex firms, well, they're not viable for U.S. citizens anymore because of certain regulations. So it's mainly futures firms.
Yep.
And, myself and you were both funded with futures firms. And essentially, it provides you a way to trade. So even if you had 50 grand to put in an account, you could trade that 50 grand, but most likely when you take that 3, 4, 6K loss, like it hurts a little bit more than
Hurts a lot.
I paid $100 for this account. I traded, I made some money, I messed around, I lost it. I still came up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's like, it's really changed the industry where, you know, people now don't have to bust their ass and, you know, work to make 10 grand or even make 25K to be out of PDT to be able to trade. Like now you can actually trade with a perm's capital, which is, it's amazing. I mean,
such a game changer, man. And there's so many different aspects to it. Cause let's say you pay $100, you get access to $100,000. All you have to do is pass the test. And the test is make 6,000 before you lose $4,500. There's obviously different thresholds based off the size account you get. But the one big thing is the taxes, right? So if you're profitable and you're making 90% of your gains, once you pass that $6,000, you get funded, you get access to the 100K. And then from there, anything above that certain buffer, you're making 90% of the gains. The prop firm's getting paid because they keep 10%. You're making 9% that can be directly wired to your bank account. And you're on a 1099 for them, but you get taxed at ordinary income instead of short-term capital gains tax. It's not your money. It's it's the biggest hack ever. And if you're a good trader, and the best part about prop firms, they always say that this is the worst thing because there's rules. Like you can't lose a certain amount in a day or they shut your account off. You can't trade a certain amount of contract sizes. And people say that they hate that, but that's a beautiful thing, man. It teaches you to be disciplined and a trader. So as long as you're not breaking those rules, you're going to continue to keep the account, grow it, and make profit. But with those rules in place and these prop firms giving you this access to capital, you don't have to go through the hardships that maybe you and I face, like going down 100K or like going down 20K or 5K, 6K in a day. Cause that's mentally taxing. If you break the rules, you lose that $100. That's it. And then you just invest another $100 in there to try again. But it helps you, one, minimize your risk on the downside with your personal capital. And two, it teaches you to be a trader. Whereas like, you're just not just going in there blindly following somebody from that you see on the internet. And you're like, oh, I'm just going to buy because he said buy. This is actually allowing you to become a good trader with the rules that they have in place too.
And to get experience without risking your money. Because if an individual comes into the market and they don't have no discipline, they don't have a routine, their knowledge, like they're maybe a novice or just brand new. They're just doing it because, they saw a friend is doing it. If you get into a trade and you're down $500, right? Let's say somebody puts in 10K or 20K, they're down $500. That minute that you see that $500 drawdown, your hand starts to get sweaty. Your body temperature rises. Your heart starts to race. And you would think logically, you would just cut out the trade, but you're not. And I say this, speaking from a personal experience where like, there were times where like I got into a trade. I'm down $1,200. I should take the $1,200 loss. $1,200 end up turning into $34,000 loss. There's been times where like I lost 50 grand in a month. And at that point is like, I'm not ready to be trading with a 6-figure account. So I bring my account down to like 20K, 15K, because there's no PDT when trading futures, whether, you're trading on your personal side or you're trading on a prop firm. So for a period of time, like I had to trade with a small account because knowing that I had excess amount of capital to like always add to the account, I was allowing myself, I was burning it, but I was also allowing myself to like hold positions longer than I should. Like there's no reason for me to have a $34,000 drawdown. No. There's no reason for me to lose 50K in a month, right? So with that, like the prop firms, like it teaches you discipline. It forces you to stay in those parameters. But think of it like this. You work a 9 to 5. Your boss tells you, be at work at this time. This is the time you can go to lunch. This is what you have to do. You have rules all around you, whether you know it consciously or subconsciously. Like everything you do, there's rules and parameters that you have to follow. You don't show up to work, you could get fired or get a pay deduct. You're working with a prop firm, they have certain rules and guidelines you have to follow. We have laws in society. You jaywalk, you could get a ticket. You speed, you could get a ticket. You go and you commit a crime, you could lose your freedom. So there's rules and guidelines all throughout our lives. It's like you just got to pick and use. Yeah,
absolutely, man. I feel like the prop firm has completely changed the game. And I know that you and I I've been talking about, coming out with like a mentorship to really kind of
Yes.
educate, coach the game up, and just bring a different perspective to people and just give them at least the opportunity to
Yes.
think if this is something for them, because there's a lot going on with, there's just so much different stuff going on in the space where people think it's a scam or it's like just a place to lose money, but there's so many successful people. I mean,
Yes.
there's 2 people in the room right now that have found a lot of success in this, right?
Yes.
So it's possible. You need to find the right mentorship. And I know that you and I are working on
Yeah.
a way to kind of bring that to the community and really try
Yes.
to change people's perspectives on how to
Looking
be
forward to
successful in
that.
this space. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited to start building that with you, man. I know this is the first time we've ever like got to speak in person,
Yes.
meet face to face, literally an hour ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like the internet friends thing's a real thing nowadays.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
it really is. I mean, even coming from Orlando, like there's 2 people that I met, the gentlemen that were hosting the mastermind in Orlando.
Yeah.
I met them through the internet from another friend that I met through the internet from streaming.
Yeah.
And it's like I've really met some amazing people being involved in this industry,
Mhm.
but also like on social media. And if someone's doing something and if there's a chance for us to like collaborate or even just like meet up and powwow, like I'm all
sure.
for it. So there's some scammers out there, but there's also a lot of good people that want to collaborate and grow as a unit. So yeah,
there's a great community in the trading space. You just have to
Yes.
find the right people.
Yes.
And our networks are crazy now. So like if people come to us, we can introduce them to those people
Yes.
as well. And like there's so much we could do with like hosting a mastermind or hosting a class and like hosting events, or maybe we do like one-time travel. Like there's a lot of stuff that we're working on behind the scenes.
Absolutely, man. It's going to be exciting.
It's coming soon too.
Yes,
So.
yes, definitely.
But I know we could talk about this for hours, and I know that there's a ton of stuff that we could do, but I think that I wanted to show them the prop firm kind of stuff. I don't know if we have enough time this time around, but I'd love to get you back in here on pretty soon, whether it's next week, next month, whatever it may be. But there's a tradition around here where I always ask people what their next move is to continue the success they're on. So I'd love to give you the floor for a second on something that you're working on, something you're inspired by, something that you think that is going to help you continue the success that you've had in the trading industry the last 11 years.
I mean, the one thing I'm excited about is the mastermind that we spoke about doing, and the mentorship and boot camps. Something that I'm working on, or it's possibly going in the like real institutional route, like hedge fund. So now instead of trading a small portion of a firm's capital, like we're talking like 100, 200 mil area. So that I would say is like the next step in working on something like that. So.
Yeah, you say that so subtly, like that's not a big ass step, man.
And that's crazy, dude. Like there was a point where just like 5 mil was like unfathomable to me.
Oh yeah.
I go to Dubai several times. I come back. 100 mil is coming out of my mouth like it's $100. So
man. It's all perspective.
It's perspective and growth. And I mean, like, this didn't happen overnight. This 11 years in the making. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So that's the other thing that just people gotta understand. Like, you gotta pay some dues. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be some time. Some people might be luckier than you, but play your own game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know. Even just seeing you. I mean, obviously, I know how successful of a trader you are. Just trading with you every morning, but meeting you face to face, I can tell like even from your backstory, you have a lot of motivation and and just like a drive to be
really passionate about this.
Exactly. Like and that's what's going to make you succeed, man.
The trading part and like even the educational part. So, and there's plenty of people out there that are traders and they're educators. And I mean, you learn in every aspect of life, again, whether you're aware of it or not. You know what I mean? You meet somebody that's a parent and you're about to become a parent. You watch what they do.
Yep.
You're learning from them, whether you know it or not.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I know you're going to crush it in whatever you do. And I'm excited that now that we can collaborate, but we got something coming pretty soon.
Yes.
Now that we can meet in person, we'll start cooking on that a lot faster. But
absolutely,
I appreciate your time coming in today, man. You got a hell of a story, and
thank you.
I know that whatever you do, I'm going to be, one of the big supporters right behind you. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that,
man. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.